Hello and welcome to Nailed On FPL with John and Kris. It's the day before the free hit deadline, which means we are in the process of locking in our final free hit team. So for those who still have that chip available, we'd like to share that with you. And we're going to go through all the options today, aren't we, Kris?
Yeah, definitely. Obviously, we should say, so we are recording after the Spurs fixture announcement. So obviously Spurs Villa has been postponed. Spurs now have a really nice looking home game, don't they, against Fulham?
Yeah, so this definitely adds a bit more upside to the Spurs assets, and that has altered our decision-making slightly, and you'll see that in this final team. So we're going to kick it off by going straight into the goalkeeper, and we have both arrived on Leno at home to Palace. So that is the Arsenal goalkeeper. So, yeah, we're quite happy with that one, aren't we?
Yeah, I think, Arsenal kept a few clean sheets recently. They got good odds to keep a clean sheet here against a Palace side that's struggling a little bit. Leno was quite an easy pick. We did talk about De Gea in our last episode as obviously a good option as well. And if you've got De Gea in your team, I wouldn't hold it against you. Both good options.
Just a note on that. I mean, some people will be looking at Dubravka, trying to basically opposing Sheffield. Newcastle 2-1 to keep a clean sheet this week. Whereas if you look at Arsenal, they're actually 6-5. So lots of people like to avoid the Arsenal defense, but in this case, it seems a nice option. So, yeah, both happy with that pick.
And then we should just talk to our $4 million goalkeeper, of course, on the bench is Steele for Brighton. He played in the FA Cup last night and saved 4 penalties. He did make quite a big blunder in the last minute of normal time. So I don't think he's going to start, but, it's just someone who's got a game that could potentially come on if Leno doesn't play.
Fair. So on to the defenders, and you'll see in the team it's quite a bit of a premium strategy. So we've really put money into the defence here. There's some really quite good-looking assets. So we went with double City, haven't we, Kris?
Yeah, so I know there's a slight difference between our teams. So in the one you're seeing has got Diaz and Stones. John has Cancelo and Stones. This is maxed out for me, so I've got no more money in the bank. I think all 3 of them are really good options. Man City probably the highest chance out of any team playing this game week to keep a clean sheet. And, that partnership that Diaz and Stones have formed recently has been really good for clean sheets. So, yeah, no hesitation.
They look pretty nailed, which is a rarity for City assets. It's hard to ever say that when Pep's in charge, but I mean, following the theme of the last several games, they should get the start. And as you said, great chance to return a clean sheet.
Yeah.
So we've definitely invested in City in the defence. We have Tierney as well for Arsenal, which I can't pronounce for some reason.
Kieran Tierney.
But yeah, I mean, again, so Arsenal actually, we doubled up on the Arsenal defense. It's odds are 6-5. Again, it's a very likely chance of keeping a clean sheet. I do think there's other good options in this kind of premium slot. So if you look at Maguire or Wan-Bissaka, they'd also be viable. But following his 18-pointer, I think it only seems fair to choose this guy. I'm not going to say his name again.
To be honest, I mean, he looks like he's been given a new lease of life at Arsenal, and he got another assist in the FA Cup at the weekend, so he looks really threatening. And as long as the forwards can put him away, he's got a good chance of an assist. So more upside for me for going for Tierney over the 2 you mentioned, but they're still very good options as well.
Yeah, so I believe we both have very similar benches. So again, it comes down to budget. So to bring in all these premium assets, we have some pretty cheap players on the bench. So Douglas, 3.8. As we said in the last episode, he might not be available on the app, so make sure you use the website to bring him in. Some kind of glitch there. Also, there's quite a few 3.9 options. Mitchell is a potential starter at 3.9. So bring him in as well if you're going for a second bench defender.
Yeah.
I will just add on that if you're looking to if you're looking for a slightly more premium bench option, which is completely justified, I think it's definitely endorse having a fairly strong bench, even though we don't in this case to achieve the team we have. Holding at Arsenal, 4.5 million, amazing value is the standout for me. I don't know if there's anyone else you want to kind of give a shout out to in the 4.5 category.
No, not really. I mean, I guess there's a chance for someone like Kilman at Wolves to get a start, but it's a little bit risky. So if you need the funds to create a team like this, then you may need to go for a Douglas and Mitchell. But if you don't, yeah, Kilman, Holden, both decent options. Okay, then so we'll move on to midfield. So this is where it looks really nice. You know, almost wish I could have this midfield every single week, I suppose. But yeah, so De Bruyne, I guess, is the first one to pick, and he's a good captaincy option as well, isn't he, John?
Yeah, he is. I mean, looking at kind of projected points, again, KDB is going to top the charts in many cases. Now that the Spurs are against Fulham, of course, he has some contention from the likes of Kane and Son, but still think he's an excellent captaincy option, looking really good in his last fixture as well. So, yeah, definitely a good pick there. And I will looking at the midfield, there's a theme. We've loaded it with all the most expensive players in the game, basically. And it's the way I looked at it, there's almost 6 premium assets, maybe 7 if you include Aubameyang as well. So at the real top bracket of price, and you can see right in front of us, we have KDB, Bruno Fernandes. Again, all these players I feel are essential. Rashford and Son, again, looking really strong options. If you can fit them in, then absolutely do so. But yeah, I mean, do we have any more comments on? I know I've just called out several names at once, but
yeah,
I mean, do we need to? Obviously, we went with the Man United double. Do we need to add a bit more on that at all?
No, I think that, as you said, I think Man United have looked in pretty good form recently. We know what Bruno's away form is like. Burnley haven't had the best start to the season, so yeah, no hesitation to put those 2 in. Obviously, Son is the top FPL point scorer in the this season, so you know it's no hesitation on that one. The only other one to pick out is Saka. In good form for Arsenal, he's obviously been playing right wing, and he looks a lot more dangerous, and he's had a few goals and assists in his last few games, so he's a bit of an enabler. I mean, the only one we haven't mentioned, I guess, is someone like a Sterling or Mahrez for Man City. Obviously, Sterling he's now been given a yellow flag, I believe, because he didn't play in the FA Cup, wasn't even in the squad. I think it's a bit of an unknown yet. I mean, Pep hasn't alluded to what's happened there, so it's a bit of a risk to go with, you know, someone who's 11.4 million to bring him in. So, and Mahrez is always a bit of a rotation risk. Even with Sterling out, you could easily see Pep go with Foden, Torres, and like De Bruyne up front or something. So again, a bit of a risk, but could be a calculated risk that could pay off potentially.
Well, yeah, lots of managers are going to have maybe some budget issues. They might not be able to squeeze in the same players we have. So you could take a bit of a gamble, bring in someone like Mahrez, providing your bench is strong. When you have such good value bench options like Holding, then I think a gamble on Mahrez is somewhat justified. But again, I think there's a lot of safer options at that premium bracket to bring in. I don't like Sterling with a flag over him at his price point. So I think playing it safe and going with the premium assets we have here is a really solid strategy, to be honest.
Yeah, I will just say,
okay, so you mentioned Saka. The other difference between our 2 teams is I had a bit more money in the bank, and I've got who do I have?
You got Neto.
Pedro Neto. Yeah, of course. I forgot my own team. So Neto, I see is slightly more attacking potential than Saka, and it seems more of a premium asset, I think, in this case. Anytime goal score odds of 11-4 versus 4-1 of Saka. So there's a few kind of looking at the probability. There's a few positive indicators and a slightly more premium one to go for. So I do like him as a pick.
Yeah, and he's obviously quite cheap, isn't he, at 6 million? So yeah, a decent option. Obviously, you've got a little bit more money in the bank, so that's why you can make the upgrade. Otherwise, I probably would have done the same. But yeah, happy with Saka as well. Okay, then so we'll move on to the strikers then, John.
Yes, so we both arrived at the same 2, and it was a bit of a last-minute switch for me to bring in Wilson. I originally had a 4-5-1 with Kane up front by himself, but decided to bring in Wilson. I think this is quite marginal between playing Wilson versus one of the premium defenders like Maguire, Tierney, I'm going to say his name wrong again, and Wan-Bissaka as well. So there's a few good options in that bracket, but Wilson away to Sheffield, it's, you know, you can see him. I mean, his anytime goal score odds are 2-1. That's not brilliant, but he's at a very affordable price point, and there's always potential there for maybe a goal and assist. And we know he's on penalties. There's quite a lot of upside to Wilson, and he's a justified pick.
Yeah, and obviously Sheffield's form, isn't it? 2 points all season doesn't.
Not great.
Isn't looking great for them. But yeah, and I mean, before the Spurs news, I did have Lacazette as well, which was obviously always a good option as well. We spoke about in our last video. We spoke about Martial as well. Both decent options there. But in order to get Kane in, the other sacrifice had to be made. So couldn't really afford either of those two. Which is a shame because I could see Lacazette doing quite well. But yeah, so that's the two. I guess the only other player to mention, and so I've got Vasilev on the bench again, just a 4.3 million player that I had to bring in. I think you've got Brewster John though, isn't he? So Bruce is probably the best 4.5 option that's playing this week. He's not guaranteed to start, but he's someone who's will probably get a 1 point that may come off your bench if we have any problems.
Yeah, we should say on Kane, by the way. I mean, obviously he's very expensive, but he's going to come with a lot of upside, and he's going to be a well-justified captaincy pick.
Yeah.
So if you're kind of debating whether to have him or not, bear in mind lots of managers are going to captain him now that the fixtures have switched around, being Fulham. So I think he's very important to own. And for me, I'll decide on the day whether I captain KDB or Kane. I think it's very close between the two. Some people will include Son in that debate, but it's just the two for me, knowing that Kane's got penalties and a few more factors. So, yeah, that's
yeah. And I mean, yes, as you can see from mine, I've got Kane and Bruno at the moment. Obviously, the obvious choice, if you fancy the Spurs game to be the highest scoring, is to go Kane captain and Son vice captain. We strongly advise against this, just because we've seen previously where games have been called off late. You could be stuck without a captain. So good to spread those two chips across more than one game, basically. But plenty of good captaincy options, which will potentially give it a lot of, high gain in rank, or could be the difference this week, couldn't it, the captain choice?
Yeah, I'm feeling really good about this week in general. I think it's really quite unfortunate for those who, aren't. Actually, sorry, it would have been very unfortunate if the Spurs game was cancelled. I think if you were planning on riding this fixture, you were probably going in with Spurs assets. So to be fair, lots of people are going to own Kane and Son anyway, which is all the more reason to make sure you have them, because if they do well, you're going to be dropping quite far down the ranks if you don't have them. So I've got I'm feeling really good about this one. I think it's, as you said, captaincy is going to make a big difference. We'll decide on the day, and cross my fingers.
Yep, sounds good. Any questions you've got, just drop them down the below, and we'll do our best to answer them.
Cheers, guys.